All right, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the sign of Aquarius. I know a lot of people have waited a long time for this, so let's just get right on into it. First, I want to give a shout out to my top supporters over at Patreon and Subscribestar, whose support is deeply appreciated. Ahmad Rashid, Andrew Baukamp, Bardan, Deanie, Exponential Worth, Flutterlust 9, Jeff Montes, John Sheffield, Matthew Della Garza, Nicholas Griggs, Nick Giacara, The Musician, Frater Omar, Dextroid DLR, Justin Mai, Kevin Johnson, and a few others who don't wish to be named. They know who they are. Thank you so much for your generous and continuing support. It really does make all the difference. So, thank you. All right, as always, when I discuss the signs of the zodiac, I'm not necessarily talking about you if your sun is in the sign of Aquarius, meaning that you were born at a time when the sun was in the sign of Aquarius. People tend to identify themselves as a particular sign when it is their sun that is in that sign. You still have other planets in your chart that can be in other signs. And everyone has the sign of Aquarius and all the other signs in their birth chart somewhere, which may or may not have a planet placement within it. So when I speak of the sign of Aquarius, I'm not talking about you per se, if you identify as an Aquarius, but rather the qualities of the sign itself. I hope that makes sense. The time of year that Aquarius runs is from January 20th to February 18th. Its planetary ruler is the same as Capricorn's, which is Saturn, but it is also co-ruled by the planet Uranus. And it has the elemental quality of fixed air. So we know that air has to do with thoughts and ideas. So this is a very intellectual sign, dealing with knowledge and information. It's one of the only signs to be represented by a human. Most of the other signs are represented by animals, or even objects, as in the case of Libra's scales. But Aquarius is represented by a human because it is a sign of humanity, those higher intellectual faculties of humans. It's the sign of science, technology, invention, and innovation. Creating things for a better tomorrow, because Aquarius is the sign of the future, which also makes it very unpredictable. Now, Aquarius is known as the water bearer, so many people think that Aquarius is a water sign when it's not. It's about as far away from the qualities of a water sign that you can get. It is rather an air sign, and not only an air sign, but fixed air, which is the purest form of the element that you can be. But because it's known as the water bearer, people confuse it with being a water sign, and even its symbol resembles waves of water when it's really electromagnetic waves. Like in broadcasting, TV and radio, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are all very Aquarian in nature. And Aquarius itself is like a very large antenna picking up on electromagnetic waves, which is how it tends to know things. For the motto of Aquarius is, I know. And if you talk to an Aquarian, they may be likely to cut you off and say, yeah, I know. Which they probably do. Not by studying it or learning it anywhere, but through their intuition. Aquarius is one of the most intuitive signs. Now, they're not psychic like Pisces or Cancer may be, although they may seem similar, being psychic and intuition are two different things. Aquarius is not a mystic like Pisces is. Aquarius just happens to know things intuitively. They usually won't know how they know if you ask them. They just know. Aquarius is not a sign that you want to keep secrets from. They'll just know. Now, Aquarius is known as the water bearer because it's always bringing water to other people. Not literally, but figuratively. They bring them what they need. Aquarius is a very humanitarian sign. Remember, it is represented by a human. So it's always wanting to help other people. Aquarius is fascinated by other people. It is the sign of friends, groups, organizations, corporations, all of which are made up of other people. So they're always wanting to help people, but Aquarius can also have an issue where they spend too much time trying to help others that they forget to help themselves. Another issue with Aquarius is that in their efforts to help and please everyone, they have to sacrifice intimacy and become impersonal. Aquarius is very much concerned with everything being fair and equal to those within the group. Therefore, they can't play favorites with anyone within the group, or that would put the group under threat of forming a new group. So they want everyone to be treated the same. And in order to do that, they have to have an impersonal attitude. And this is commonplace within corporations. Think of any customer service call where you're dealing with the machine. It's often difficult to get that one-on-one call with a real live person in customer service. So intimacy is sacrificed on the altar of Aquarius, all for the good of the group. And this is getting into the dark side of Aquarius a bit, but you see this in the science and technology that Aquarius brings, where our computers and the internet and our smartphones, that on one hand has brought us closer together. We're just a couple clicks away from connecting to anyone practically on the globe, but on the other hand has sacrificed intimacy. We're in many ways further away from each other than we've ever been. And I've talked about this before, where there's always a trade-off, where something that was invented to do good will have another side to it via the law of polarity that brings something bad along with it. And this is very much an Aquarian trait, where Aquarius means to do well, but often makes things worse. Now, that's not to say that they don't do good. There are tremendous benefits to the inventions and innovations that Aquarius creates. It's just that they often have another side to them. I mean, the technology is great. It makes things so much easier for us. Everyone's phone nowadays is a powerful computer, something like right out of the sci-fi series Star Trek, where science fiction, being tied with science, is also ruled by Aquarius. But it also came with the price of everybody looking down, staring at their phones all the time, not paying attention, causing accidents because they were texting while driving, and just kind of being shut off from everybody around them, being connected with people more through the device than they are in real life. This is a large part of the dark side of Aquarius. We had the Industrial Revolution, where many inventions were created to help production and to better our lives, but the trade-off to that was pollution. So Aquarius does mean well, but as the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, as well as no good deed goes unpunished. Aquarius is all about freedom, personal freedom, which is kind of ironic. As a result of the things that Aquarius creates, we get further enslaved. Computers and technology were meant to liberate us and make things easier for us, which they do, but we also become dependent upon them to the point where everything would fall apart and collapse if they were taken away. Think of what would happen if all of the computers just went on the fritz all of a sudden at once. It would be pandemonium. Nevertheless, Aquarius needs its freedom. Don't try telling Aquarius what to do, for Aquarius will rebel. It is the rebel without a cause, or sometimes it has a cause, but it will still rebel. In a relationship, Aquarius needs their space. They need to be able to go out with their friends and be part of groups. And if they're paired up with, say, a jealous Scorpio who doesn't want them to go out and only wants to be alone with them all the time, there are going to be problems, because Aquarius has to have their freedom or they will rebel. And since Aquarius is a sign of rebellion, it is also the sign of revolutions. It doesn't matter what type of revolution it is. It could be the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Industrial Revolution that we spoke of, or even the sexual revolution of the late 60s. Revolutions happen because of a need for freedom, to be allowed to do things a different way than was allowed before. The only problem with revolutions is sometimes you just end up right where you began. You overthrow one dictator just to get another, who may even be worse than the first. Now, because Aquarius rules over technology and inventing, it's also the sign of genius and insanity. I said Aquarius is a sign of the future, often the future, so Aquarius's thinking is rather ahead of its time. Ideas that may seem crazy to other people because they don't yet get it. Many of the things that we have today, people would have thought was insane just decades ago. But it's not just the things that Aquarius creates that seem crazy. Aquarius itself seems crazy. Aquarians are often strange or bizarre, weird, paradoxical, almost alien. They are the aliens among us that are fascinated by other people because they're not one of them. So there's always something about Aquarius that's going to seem odd, different, strange, or eccentric. Aquarius doesn't think like the other signs. Remember, it's fixed air, and as such is more in tune with the thoughts and ideas that it could pull out of the ether than we are. And some of those thoughts and ideas can be absolutely genius. And that can come to them intuitively when they're not taking themselves seriously. Even though its traditional ruler is Saturn, Aquarius is a bit of a joker. Now, we said that humor is ruled by Capricorn, and it is, but Aquarius are always joking around because they're always concerned with making their friends and the people they like happy. Now, the tarot card for the planet Uranus, which co-rules the sign of Aquarius, is the Fool, the joker of the tarot deck. The opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo, who is the king. So you have the king on one side and the court jester on the other. And only the jester is able to step to the king and tell jokes about him without getting his head cut off. Because everybody knows the jester is crazy. They can get away with it. They're always saying strange things or expressing wild ideas. Now, when it comes to the dark side of Aquarius, we talked about before where Aquarius can be a bit impersonal and also trying to save the world without saving themselves first, trying to help but making things worse, many times unforeseen consequences of them trying to help, being a know-it-all, as the Aquarian motto is, I know. The tarot card for the sign of Aquarius is the Star. Parts of the body ruled by Aquarius are the ankles, shins, and circulatory system. And Aquarian movies are Powder, Hair, that old hippie musical with the song Age of Aquarius, which we'll get into in a moment, and all science fiction movies. Okay, so that's the sign of Aquarius, but we can't really talk about the sign of Aquarius without talking about the age of Aquarius. Advanced Tarot is the definitive course for reading the tarot in divination or using it in your magical practice. Advanced Tarot is a subscription series that runs for 52 weeks. Each week for an entire year, a new lesson on the tarot will be sent directly to your email inbox. Not only are we going to be learning the meanings of each and every tarot card, we're also going to be covering the astrological, Kabbalistic, and even spiritual correspondences of the cards. We're also going to be covering several tarot spreads and a whole lot more. Beginners need not worry about the title. There's plenty in the course to get you up and reading tarot in no time. It's called Advanced Tarot because it goes beyond what most of the books teach you about what the cards mean. You can get Advanced Tarot and other Mind and Magic programs over at mindandmagic.com today. Now, an age lasts about 2,000 years, roughly, and it's the time in which we live that is influenced by the qualities of a particular sign. We first had the age of Aries way back in biblical days, the time of Abraham. Then came the age of Pisces, which was a very faith-oriented age. We had Christianity, the Jesus fish of Pisces, and now we have entered into the age of Aquarius. When it started exactly is up for debate. Some believe in 1781 when the planet Uranus was discovered. Others believe in 1962 when 7 planets were in the sign of Aquarius, which was right before the sexual revolution, the development of computers and the moon landing, and a lot of other technological innovations. With all the science, technology, innovations, inventions, huge corporations, there's no doubt that we are living in the age of Aquarius. We're closer together than ever before. We're also more isolated and alone than ever before by way of technology. Mark Zuckerberg just announced that Facebook will no longer be Facebook. It will be now Meta. And he wants to create the metaverse, which is essentially just an expanded VR chat room. You can instantly be in a virtual space with anyone in the world, but you're not really there. It's just you with a VR helmet on in a room in your house somewhere, probably alone. And his plans for this metaverse is very Aquarian. This is what we're getting into as we head further into the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius does have its dangers. Corporations taking over our lives, which we have seen. A lot of these corporations are more powerful than nation states. Think of big tech becoming more powerful than many governments. And there's a danger of a scientific inquisition instead of the faith-based inquisition a few centuries ago, where if you don't agree with the science, then you will be outcast in some fashion. And we're seeing signs of that now with the vax mandates or getting banned from social media by big tech. The name big tech alone is Aquarian, by posting what they deem to be misinformation, often being something that they just don't agree with, including other doctors and scientists that they don't agree with. As rarely is there ever 100% consensus on any one thing. So already you're seeing big tech and Aquarius flex its muscle when it comes to the danger of a new scientific inquisition. They tell you to trust the science when not all scientists agree on the particular science that they want you to trust. Aquarius is also very concerned with groups, so it is very globalist in nature, more concerned with the world than any one individual. The dark side of this is communism, and we're seeing signs of this being adopted now by those in charge, even though they may not call it as such. They start small with such things as equity, which is equal outcome, because Aquarius wants everybody to be happy. They want everybody to have the same so that all of them will be happy equally, without taking into account, because it is impersonal, that you may have worked your entire life to get where you are, while the other guys may have slacked off and partied and wasted all of their time and energy, and now they'll get the same as you. How would that be fair? But see, Aquarius doesn't view that because it's impersonal. It's only concerned with the outcome. And they're calling their plan for the future the Great Reset. They're going to reset everybody. That means they're going to take everything you have away from you, one way or the other, and reset the board as if you were playing a Monopoly game. They're going to reset it for themselves as well, only they're going to own everything, and anything that you need, they'll just rent to you. Now, we've talked about their Great Reset in the Thoth Life series, which you can get on Patreon and Subscribestar, or with a membership here on YouTube, which they have now activated and made available on the channel. For those not wanting to deal with another site like Patreon and Subscribestar, you now have this option to support the channel and get the extra bonus content of the Thoth Life series. Now, you won't have access to the other tier rewards as you would on Patreon and Subscribestar, but you will get access to the monthly bonus content, and it should be up and going by the time this video reaches YouTube. Now, if you don't want a membership but you still want to support the channel, you can send a super thanks down in the comments below. Any and all support is appreciated. And that will do it for the sign of Aquarius. I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and share it if you did. It does help others to find it and spread the information like Aquarius does. Be sure to visit mindandmagick.com, where you can pick up my free program, Finding Your Path and Purpose, which uses the astrology of your birth chart to find out what you should be doing with your life. And again, it's absolutely free. So head on over and check it out if you haven't done so already. And that will do it for now. Social media URLs to follow, and I will see you next time. Take care.